In Doral Monday, Venezuelan Americans denounced the Trump administration and South Florida Republicans.
More than betrayed. Beyond betrayed. They used us. They actually, during the campaign, and I don't want to make this political, but during the campaign, the elected officials from the Republican Party, they actually told us that he was not going to touch the document.
Hey beautiful people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for stopping by, supporting your girl on this channel. So all credit goes to the creators in this video. So you guys remember those Venezuelans, right? Now look at them now.
I am really wondering how the Venezuelans are feeling right now. How they feeling right now? And I'm talking about the ones that voted for Trump. How can they live with themselves? Because we just had the Supreme Court that said they don't have any protections. Remember that video that I made that they were waiting for a Hail Mary? They really thought that there was going to be a Hail Mary done for the court, and they didn't blame Trump at all for him lifting the TPS, talking about it was unlawful. So how are you feeling? How you feeling? Because tú votaste por Trump, right? Tú dijiste, este mi hombre. He hates you. He hates you. Y no lo entiende, ¿la? Y no te amas. He looks at you as less than a person. So here we are, in which TPS is no longer like a really illegal option. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but now a lot of Venezuelans are going to have to leave. Thank you to all those Trumper Venezuelans. You did this to your own people. Bye.
Good afternoon. It was just broadcasted over the news that the Supreme Court is allowing the Trump administration to cancel the temporary protective status of over 350,000 Venezuelans. They had this protective status under the Biden administration as they were fleeing the dictator from their country. So now this protective status is being lifted. You rest assured that 350,000 of y'all are going home. So, you know, I don't know. I don't think there's any way around it at this point. But, you know, I mean, win some, you lose some. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, they did have temporary status. So I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't even know what to think anymore, to be honest with you. But I'm just telling you guys. All right. Have a blessed day. Bye.
Arresting. So over 350,000 Venezuelan migrants are now at risk for deportation. So today, the Supreme Court lifted a lower court injunction, which is essentially a block that prevented the Trump administration from revoking temporary protection status from Venezuelan migrants, over 300,000 of them. And remember, TPS grants migrants deportation protection, work authorization here in the US, and travel authorization when the US government deems that their country is extraordinarily too unsafe for them to return. So unless a new injunction is issued, deportations may start happening, even though legal challenges are still continuing in the lower courts. Please follow for more news. And do you agree with the Supreme Court's decision?
I mean, we all know this is politics, right? Because just in March, about 200 of them were deported and they were sent to El Salvador. That is not even Venezuela, right? They were sent to El Salvador. Now, more of them will be deported. Guys, what do you think about this in the comment section? Because we all know who Venezuelans for Trump voted for, okay?
Supreme Court has allowed for the termination of temporary protected status affecting about 350,000 Venezuelans who had registered for TPS under the Biden administration, the 2023 designation, which expired on April 2025. The Trump administration terminated that designation and terminated the extension, and it went to court, and the federal judge put a restraining order against that termination. And then it went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and the Trump administration requested expedite to go directly to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court came back down and said, no, the lower court cannot put a restraining order on this. This falls under the executive branch. They are allowed to continue to see what fits best for temporary protected status, and this falls under their job duties. So now the Trump administration has the green light to continue with their termination of TPS. Even though the case is still being litigated in the Ninth Circuit, the Trump administration can still continue with effectuating termination for TPS under the 2023 designation for Venezuelans.
Supreme Court just issued an order that cancels the temporary protected status for Venezuelan people. And why this is important is that the legal mechanism that allowed these people to stay here, because Venezuela is a level 4 big bad place according to the fucking State Department, is now gone. And even more incredible is that the only justice that put their name to deny this application is Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Rule number 1 of resisting tyranny is do not obey in advance. So the courts are not going to save us.
I've got some breaking TPS news to share with you today. The Supreme Court is allowing the Trump administration to terminate TPS for Venezuela. Back in March, a judge in California allowed TPS to continue for immigrants from Venezuela, and also said that the plaintiffs who are suing on behalf of Haiti could also file similar relief if they chose to do so. The Trump administration eventually went to the Supreme Court, asking the Supreme Court to allow them to continue to terminate TPS for Venezuela, which the Supreme Court just did. This means that immigrants who have TPS for Venezuela are in danger of losing their immigration status, which means they will also lose the ability to work legally in the United States. I also believe that this decision in this Supreme Court case is also going to impact the plaintiffs who are suing to try to preserve TPS for Haiti, which is currently scheduled to end in August of 2025. As I've said before, I really do not think that any of these countries will continue to have TPS by the time that the Trump administration has ended. They have been trying to terminate TPS for a lot of countries since the first term. They have already started the process of terminating TPS for a variety of countries already during the second term. If you currently have TPS that has not yet expired, I strongly encourage you to explore what other options you have to remain in the United States beyond that time. I do have a free download that is linked in my profile that is called TPS to Green Card, How to Leverage Your Temporary Status to Obtain Permanent Residency. That is full of a lot of options that you might have. It's totally free.
Well, the United States Supreme Court is back to its old tricks as it deals a blow to liberty and justice for all by ending the protected status of Venezuelans who came here to escape persecution. If they are returned to their country, they are facing the possibility or maybe even the probability of death and torture. I mean, heck, the United States State Department tells Americans who travel to Venezuela that they should have a last will and testament because of the dangers posed there. Now, the Supreme Court said, hey, we're not saying these people have to go back. They can apply for asylum. But what a joke. The Trump administration has ended asylum, except if you're white and from South Africa. Those folks can come on in. But for anybody who's black and brown, you cannot apply for asylum anymore in the United States of America. Immigration's attorneys say those avenues are closed. The programs that allow people to apply, the applications, the app, literally an app on your phone that allowed you to receive messages and so on, has been completely ended. And there is essentially no more asylum in the United States of America if you are from a country where you are not white and South African. It is a sham.
This comes as Venezuelans in Florida, many of whom voted for Trump because of his tough stance on immigration, are now having second thoughts.
Well, some Venezuelans say they feel betrayed by the Trump administration, and they want to make it clear the majority of Venezuelans are not criminals.
Like so many other Venezuelans, she cheered when Donald Trump was elected. She's a Venezuelan immigrant, now terrified of being deported. Are you afraid of your son walking to school?
Yes, truly, yes.
What are you afraid of?
That they'll pick him up and he won't have time to call me.
You supported Donald Trump, even though you couldn't vote for him.
Yes. I believe there is a large community of Venezuelans who did. And this was a hard blow because practically the same day he took office, he went against Venezuelans. It seemed personal.
Conditions have not changed. Actually have getting worse.
At a press conference in Doral Monday, Venezuelan Americans denounced the Trump administration and South Florida Republicans.
More than betrayed. Beyond betrayed. They used us. They actually, during the campaign, and I don't want to make this political, but during the campaign, the elected officials from the Republican Party, they actually told us that it was not going to touch the documented people.